Hi guys, welcome back to Bartalkwithola. I'm really thrilled to be here once again. Thank you so much for following me up till this point. Thank you for the about 2,000 subscribers and the over 4,000 watch hours, which is a milestone in a YouTube journey for any YouTuber. I'm really grateful for that. But more importantly, I'm grateful because you guys are getting value. And I see from the comments and the emails that I get. I know I say this so often, but it is the truth and it makes me so happy because I love talking about law. I love discussing law. I'm even so happy for the senior lawyers that contact me via email. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. This is what we call law without borders. So it really means a lot to me that people from all walks of life are, talking to me about law across YouTube, and my email address. I have people from Cameroon, I have people from Sierra Leone, people from the US, I have people from across the world. So I'm really grateful. It makes me really happy. I got a tea. This is my first customized tea. Actually, it wasn't planned. Someone tagged me on the tea prints tweet and asked if I wanted one, and then I said why not. I wanted to get it for someone initially, but then when they now said that they could actually put my name on it, then I said why not get it for myself as well. And so I have my first customized tea in my adult life, and it is Mojola Oluwa of Bad Talk with Ola on YouTube. So that's what it says. My name is Mojola Oluwa, but the Ola is the short form so that you will not cut it into unacceptable forms or diminutives for me. I have cut it for you. Ola is the short form. So today we want to talk about Locus Classicus. It's a very interesting, aspect of law. It's very short. It's a very brief topic, but it's very important because if you're a lawyer or if you're a law student, you cannot do without Locus Classicus. Locus is a place, Classicus is class, but essentially what it means is that decided case or decision that espouses a principle of law, or the decision that forms, the basis upon which, or the foundation stones upon which a particular principle of law or area of law is established or, explained in detail. So, you know that our law develops mainly by judicial decisions. That's precedents, judicial precedents. So, when a case has been decided and the judge has, done justice to the ratio decidendi and the obiter dictum, in that he has now espoused, cogent points of law. Sometimes those things now become the principle guiding the decision of other judges, especially as regards that topic of law. And then it becomes the locus classicus. It becomes the point of reference, such that when you are now referring to that area of law, you cannot but talk about, that decision. That's essentially what locus classicus means. So there are a few examples. I know I've done videos on a handful of locus classicus, Is it locus classicus or locus classici? What would be the plural form? I know I took Latin in 100 level, but I'm not certain if the plural is still locus classicus. If you know it, please leave it in the comment section. So there are a handful of cases that I really love to talk about because they just help me to remember that area of law and explain it excellently. So I know that you must be thinking about one or two as you're watching this video. Please, if that's the case, I want you to drop it in the comment section. Let us continue the conversation. The glory of this channel is the conversations that we're able to continue beyond each video, and that is what really makes me happy. So please drop your Locus Classicus examples, in the comment section. And if you want to even discuss further, you can mail me at houseoflivingstones@gmail.com. That mail is also useful for any collaborations or any, briefs, concerns and questions and what have you, or inquiries that you might like to make about my law practice or about Bad Talk with Ola as a whole. So today I want to give you a few examples of locus classicus, and I'll just briefly talk about the decision and the principle of law that was espoused in each. So we have donoghuevstevenson. I've done a video on that. I'll link all the locus classicus videos that I've done in the description box. Donoghuevstevenson talks about negligence. It's the principle of law. It's the case. It's a very old case. I think it celebrated its 100th anniversary this year, either last year or earlier this year. Donoghuevstevenson was 100 years old. So for you to know that it's such an old case, but it's the case that established the principle of negligence. So the court was able to decide or to bring out the 4 legs of negligence. I've done a video on it. If you watch it, I put it there. So it talks about duty of care. You have to establish that there's a duty of care between the claimant and the defendant. That is, the defendant owes the claimant a duty of care, and 2, that duty was breached, and then there was a direct consequence, or there was an injury suffered, by the claimant, and that 4, the injury suffered was as a result of the breach of the duty of care owed to the claimant by the defendant. That's the principle of negligence as established in donoghuevstevenson. Then we have the case of Rylance and Fletcher, which establishes strict liability, basically saying that although you have exclusive possession and ownership of your own property, you must not disturb your neighbors. So if what you're doing in your property escapes onto your neighbor's property and causes them harm, you will be liable. It establishes the principle of strict liability. And strict liability in the sense that the law is not even concerned about whether you were deliberate or if it was a mistake. In that principle, someone was digging, in their own compound, and then it caused, water to escape into the other person's compound, which flushed away, certain things and caused them a great deal of loss and damage, and then they sued that person. So Rylance and Fletcher, strict liability. You would have hydevhyde. I know most people know that if you've done family law. Hydevhyde defines marriage. Marriage is the union between a man and a woman, to the exclusion of all others, for life, to the exclusion of all others. That's marriage as defined in hydevhyde. It's debatable if that decision is still, holding water, but any student of family law will know that hydevhyde is the Locus Classicus for the definition of marriage. And you'd have corbettvcorbett in the same vein, which also talks about annulment of marriage, void and voidable marriages. So in that case, a man, a he, that's a man that turned to a woman, but that was not fully turned to a woman, married another man, and then they could not experience coitus, they could not consummate the marriage, and then the man now sued for divorce. And then he was claiming before the court that the person he married was not even a woman in the first place, but a he, and so the marriage could not have been valid. So claiming that the marriage is void ab initio. So the principle of void and voidable marriages, was espoused in corbettvcorbett, and how, there are conditions to be fulfilled before you can say that a marriage is valid. And we have several other cases. We have popular cases in corporate law. For instance, we have salomonvsalomon. That's the principle that that's the case that establishes, lifting the veil where fraud has been committed in a company. The court is allowed to actually lift the veil to see who are the directors, who are the real owners of this company, even though the company will answer, or usually would answer, in its corporate name to whatever liability, accrues to it. But at some point where fraud, is detected or involved, the court is allowed to lift the veil to see who are the real owners, who are the masquerades behind this mask. So that's the principle that was espoused in salomonvsalomon. There's a principle espoused in Lungi and FBN 2, which talks about how a director is entitled to a notice of meeting before a meeting can be held where certain decisions will be made. Several other cases, we have Aukwa and Fagbemi. In Aukwa and Fagbemi, it was established two things now. It was established that laws must be written, codified, before they can be binding, or before someone can claim that the other has, broken that law. And then it also established the territoriality of laws. Also in Aukwa and Fagbemi, the principle of territoriality of laws was established that if a law is not, if a particular offense is not codified as an offense in a certain jurisdiction, it cannot be binding. For instance, in that case, it was held that adultery is not a crime in Western Nigeria, even though it's a crime under the penal code in Northern Nigeria. So territoriality of laws. So that's what Aukwanfagbemi, had to say. And several other cases. There's Garba University of Maiduguri. I love that case so much because it's the first case that I ever read and, summarized as a law student in 100 level, over 10 years ago. So Garba University of Maiduguri talked about a fair hearing, the principle of fair hearing, Nemo Judex in Causa. So I've done a video on that as well. I'll link it in the description box, which essentially just says that you cannot be a judge in your own case. In that case also, there was a riot in the school, and then there was following that, there was a destruction of property, arson, and then some people were caught and then they were subjected to a disciplinary committee. And, the DVC's house, was burnt in the arson, and then it was on the panel, that was deciding the fate of, the perpetrators of the arson as caught and named by the school. So, they went to court and the court held that, you cannot be a judge in your own case. If you are a direct victim of a crime or an offense, you cannot be the one meting out the punishment as well. And of course, there's Madukolu and Nkem Dilim. In that case, the ingredients of establishing jurisdiction of a court were espoused. So it's a very important case. I know that someone had commented from Sierra Leone, I think, who said that Madukolu and Nkem Dilim had something to do with Sierra Leone, either that a judge that sat on it also sits in Sierra Leone. A Nigerian judge that sat on it also sits in Sierra Leone. I know we have discussed it in the comment section. So that's just to show you that sometimes these locus classicus can, transcend, jurisdictions and transcend, countries. So I'm really grateful that we're able to have this kind of conversations on the channel. Madukolu and Nkem Dilim just tells you how to prove jurisdiction or prove the lack of a court's jurisdiction. So if you're a lawyer trying to file a preliminary objection, Madukolu and Nkem Dilim is your go-to, especially if you want, if your point of objection is jurisdiction. So several other cases like that, abound in law that are locus classicus, of the principle of law that they espouse. So that's all I want to talk about in this video. I will see you in my very next video. Don't forget to always share the videos so that we can grow this tribe and so that we can keep the conversation going. To those